A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Genau, können wir das Topoland. Hallo, kann ich rein?
Someone had put up a chain link fence, but it looked like I wasn't the first person to hop it.
Noch ein bisschen die Option gucken. Ja, am besten mal ein paar kurz anmachen, ne? Musik leise. Wie denn?
My brother Milton disappeared when I was 4. It was like the house just swallowed him up.
Hoppala. Wo war's jetzt? Das Dreieck, ja?
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Guck mal, Haus, der kennt nur noch aus Harry Potter. Huh?
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Oh, die sind nicht alt. Zeitung.
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Really? Oh.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Punkte. Kann ich auch lang? Aber wo lang geht's hier oben? Das auch nicht. Renn doch! Lauf!
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
Oh, ein Hof. Ein Tigerhof.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Bist du doch dunkel geworden, ne? Irgendwo dunkel. Auto? Auto fahren. Boah, ich dachte, was ist das für die?
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Nachdenklich wie die Anastas hier Kleopatra in dem Büro bist. Das hab ich gebaut. Das hab ich auch gebaut. Die sehen immer so viel aus.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
Das Kind, ja, noch. Hallo, Garage. Das ist sowieso nicht. Was ist denn für eine Animation? Mülltonne. So, das ist ein Windspiel. Ja, ich kann dagegen rennen und nicht durchrennen. Nicht angehalten.
I heard something moving around in the garage.
Ja, ich hüpfe diese Garage auf das Weg. Ich bin nichts. Komm ich rein. Was hat denn hier? Würmchen. Noch ein Zettel. Achso, noch so ein Missing. Mal gucken, wie das jetzt geht hier.
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
Hallo?
Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
Ah nein, ich will mal reingucken. Mensch. Ach Mensch, geht nicht mehr. Boah, es kommt schon erstmal richtig ins Haus rein, ja? Das ist ja ein gutes Halt hier. Irgendjemand hat hier wohl einfach den Wald geschnitten.
I asked Edie once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband. I was 6. It seemed like an odd joke to me, even then.
Naja. Fuck.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Picking. Ja, ich fasse keinen hier nach, Alter. Guck jetzt mir jeden Scheiß hier an, der hier rumsteht. Was ist das hier? Zum Aufheben.
The power had been turned off the night we left. For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
Alter, das steht hier heute noch rum. Lecker.
Or how after Louis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
Fisch. Fisch. Was soll ich da machen?
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
So, hier. Tja, was haben wir denn hier?
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Also ich finde es ein bisschen wenig Interaktion hier, oder?
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Aha. Mach hier wieder, leg schon Couch.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
Ja, ja. Ach ja. Drehen.
Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house. A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Oh. Habt ihr noch lebt? Was ist das denn? Ab da oben, oder? Aber mit Stühlchen bitte. Ah, jetzt muss ich auch laufen.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
Barbara.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Ach, da ist Barbara.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait. My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Kann ich hier nichts, oder?
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Gregory wohnt im Badezimmer. Guck mal, hi. Wer ist das? Molly.
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Ja, Schleifspuren hier. Oder heißt es hier sowas? ist der Schlüssel für so ein Buch oder was? Ja, genau.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Du, gehst du wieder rein da? Gehst du wieder rein da? Zimmer.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Oh, wo ist er? Achso, ich dachte nicht, das ist Klopapier.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Hä? Aufmachen.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Hä? Da kriege ich im Let's Play Besuch. So, was hat der Hamster jetzt hier?
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Frisst die der Maus so Zeug weg, Junge. Er frisst doch die Küttel, komm. Komm, friss doch Küttel. Ach, guck mal, ich bin das klein jetzt, ne?
My Halloween candy was all gone.
Ja, keine Bonbons mehr. Oh, hast du Hunger? Friss den Fisch. No.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Cool, jetzt gesagt zu haben, so. Mal, da geht's raus. Klo.
I kept eating and eating.
kannst kein Zahnpasta fressen.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Ach du Scheiße. Ja, komm, friss Klopapier. Was für Geräusch hat schon wieder Vogelchen angehört?
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
Ach, wir springen.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Toll. Ja.
I jumped and I almost got her.
Will ich nicht mehr. Ich sehe nicht.
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree.
Wo denn?
I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit.
Einfach mal Kaninchen. Komm einfach mal.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Ab ins Wasser.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seeds.
Oh. Ey, Hilfe!
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
Blatt.
I grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything
Bis jetzt?
changed.
Geil, Junge!
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, and no more. What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? And no more. And the captain's daughter, put him in bed with the...
Lecker!
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
Oi, oi, oi. I will die Schlange, ja?
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. I got closer and closer.
Wow. Die Umspielkerne, ich kann euch auf den Kackhaufen.
All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Aha.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Das ist echt cooler Abschnitt. Was? Habe ich das Kätzchen hier? Kätzchen!
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family, and but 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Ingeborg! So, der Louis wird gespeichert.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
Das habe ich auch. Hier ist wieder ein Hai.
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Was wurde denn hier für eine Schwuchtel?
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Okay. Aha.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Ist das ins Bett zu springen oder was?
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore he'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Calvin, dinner's ready. Coming.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Ich hab die Seite. Jawohl. Ja.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
So, dann fehlt jetzt noch Barbara. Barbara. Wie komme ich zu der?
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again. passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Ah, hier geht's. Ah, okay. Aber ich muss noch weiter zu Barbara. Kinderfilmstar, Barbara.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Kein Oscar?
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
Da muss man schon tieren, oder? Oh, guck mal, 8 mm von Bigfoot. Hier ist uns nichts. Story.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Was war das Cover? Das sieht aus wie Tales on Script, hier, wie heißt das nochmal? Tales on Script oder off Script? Und Crypt. Hier, Geschichte aus der Gruft. Wie die Comics, so sieht das Cover aus, richtig nachgemacht.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local
Bin ich? Barbara? Ellie fehlt dann auch, okay.
convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
Oh!
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later,
Krasse Scheiße.
Rick turned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box.
Ha, jetzt muss ich die
And
Spiel
as
hier.
she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Geil, Alter, jetzt bin ich hier so ein Comic am Zocken.
Rick?
Geh mal wieder.
She found Rick's crutch and imagine the worst.
Oh, jetzt kann ich go home. Ja! Guck mal. Oh. Schade. Ja, dass hier alles aufgeräumt werden muss. Boah, Jungs, ich habe die Hand. Und? Räume den Tisch ab, cool. Ja, das ist die Scheiße hier, was soll das? Das Ding ist schon da. Ah, weg damit.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Ich weiß nichts von mir weg. Oh, da geht's weiter. Komm her, Püppchen. Achso, das ist die scheiß Kritik, auf die dir gefallen ist, ja?
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Nicht mehr. Ja. Was machen? Hallo. Ich stelle Bank oder was? Ich kann eigentlich noch keine Ahnung, was los ist. Hallo. Das ist so ein Mist. Das geht nicht mehr, ich gehe nicht hier an oder so. So ein Kacke. Ja, muss später irgendwie mal probieren. Alles klar, haut drin. So ein Kader. Schade. Mal Idiot.